Hello everyone. I'm just enjoying a nice sunny spring afternoon, lazing on a Sunday afternoon, and not really lazing but relaxing, I guess, not being lazy. I'm very rarely lazy, and I just want to talk about tariffs because I know a lot of people have been curious about what that really means. And as with a lot of topics, many people are laser focused on just certain things that they want to focus on. They don't really want to know the full spectrum, or at least a larger perspective on what is going on, not just with that topic, but numerous topics. And so, as we know, with CPI, we're taking it issue by issue, case by case, and analyzing it that way, and with critical thinking skills, as George Carlin says. And we're not making blanket statements about any one particular thing. And one person that's really good at analysis, not only on this topic, but the CPI style of analysis, you take it case by case, give credit where the credit is due and be critical where you need to be critical, is Dennis Kucinich. I've had the honor to interview him, and he really is, I think, the real deal. And he comes from the same area that some of us do in Ohio. And the Democratic Party's not been too good to him. And he has a lot of knowledge and experience and expertise, and he has done his homework on the tariffs. So I want to go over some of that with you guys. Over 40 years ago, he said we need an American industrial policy that protects steel, aerospace, and shipping industries. And of course, he talks about NAFTA. He knows about NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. What a joke that is, free trade. And there were other trade deals too that actually contributed to the industrial undermining. And I saw that firsthand in the Midwest, in my mother's hometown, where tens of thousands of jobs in the automobile industry were gone over a period of 10 years. And I saw it gradually happening from the 80s to the 2000s, and now they're all gone. There aren't any more. The Guy Lamp was there, Delco Remy, General Motors, tens of thousands of jobs. I had relatives working in those factories. I had a cousin who was an accountant at General Motors, so he was one of the last employees there. So he had to finish closing out the books. So yeah, it's all gone. And that has had a big impact on the economy there. Chris Hedges even visited my mom's hometown, did a whole episode on RT about it. Anyway, he said that we currently have $4.1 trillion in annual imports. So we're not producing, obviously, like we used to. And all that outsourcing, contributes to that. Outsourcing of at least 20-some years. So much for trickle-down economics, Reaganomics, right? What a joke that was. And it was just continued, with NAFTA in the 90s and other horrible economic policies of the Clinton administration, by the way. Conservative Clinton administration, I may add. People are going to be losing their jobs in Washington, and with the inflation rate, there's going to be, also the tax cuts, the tariffs going on. And if we attack Iran, gasoline prices will go up drastically, which that is another reason why we don't want war with Iran. We don't want people to die, and we don't want to see the prices go higher and inflation go deeper, right? Because that affects the average person a lot more. Of course, Trump says it's great. We want to build American industry. Talking about that, even just talking about that, is long overdue. Bringing jobs back, long overdue. However, we have to deal with the short term as well as the long term. consequences. While the long term might sound good, that's going to be 3 to 5 years. And of bringing back manufacturing, and that's literally setting it up and putting it in place and getting the workforce back and just getting into the routine of, and then the economic benefits of that. It's going to be 3 to 5 years doing that, okay? But the short-term benefits are still going to go to people making over $450,000 a year, which we say the professional managerial class. And consumer spending is about 68% of the economy. So once again, in this issue, you don't really hear class being talked about because, if you put 10% to 49% tariffs, that will bring in, $500 billion at least in added fees from tariffs, but it covers the continuation of Trump's tax cuts. In other words, the PMC, top 10, top 25% really get those benefits, and that will be evident as we see consumer prices going up. But the vast majority of people, as usual, will not get the benefits of that. As a matter of fact, they'll have to pay more out of pocket, most likely. The Congressional Budget Office said if tax cuts are enacted in 2025, over 10 years, it will cost the Treasury Department $4.6 trillion. And again, a lot of this money will be going to the top, just like we saw during COVID. We're giving more money to those who you could say need it the least. So that's $460 billion a year. Theoretically, it covers the increased revenue from the tariffs. What isn't looked at is what's going to happen when the cost of goods go up. Americans will be paying more for goods that are imports as well. And we do export a lot at this point still. But the problem here is we'll have, as Trump says, $5 trillion or more of investment, and we'll be building new facilities, and that's great, but it takes 5 years to build factories, train workers, and build supply lines, and the impact of the tariffs will be immediate. So, some great analysis there from Dennis Kucinich. A lot of food for thought there to think about. In other words, as usual, very few people, will allude to the fact that it does affect the middle class and the poor much more than anyone else, and any of the short-term benefits go to the people at the top. Nothing new, and of course mainstream media is not going to talk about that, because when they talk about people, they're talking about oligarchs. We know, I should say when they talk about people benefiting, they're talking about oligarchs. We know that in reality there's abundance for all, right?